Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, when most people think of Italy, certain images just pop into your head. You've
Mhm.
got the ancient ruins, incredible food, and this very specific idea of tradition.
Right.
But the sources you shared with us this week, I mean, everything from crime reports to tattoo statistics, they tell a completely different
A
story.
far more complex one, yeah.
We're looking at a country that is, it seems, aggressively redefining what it means to be modern.
While still clinging so fiercely to its regional roots, that paradox is really the heart of our mission today.
So how are we going to connect all these
We're
dots?
going to synthesize all this data. We're going to connect, for example, the surprising fact that Italy is the most tattooed nation on Earth with the logic of giving
Mm-hmm.
that's empowering youth in Naples.
Moving past the cliches.
Exactly. We have to look past the travel brochure version to really understand the profound shifts happening in identity in work and in community. It's a total balancing act between the ancient and the avant-garde.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to explore this through three distinct lenses. First, we'll hit modern identity and art, where tech and manual skill are starting to blur.
Then we'll get into shifting work and family structures.
Right, focusing on things like remote work and paternity leave. And finally, we'll tackle safety, community solutions, and the influence of global wealth disparities. So let's jump right in with a data point that I think completely shatters that traditional image of Italy. The country is now, statistically, the most tattooed nation in the world.
It's an undeniable statistic. The latest research shows 48% of the Italian population has at least one tattoo.
48%.
Yeah. They've just edged out Sweden, which is at 47%, and the U.S. at 46%.
Wow.
And when you think about the cultural weight of, history and tradition in Italy, that massive embrace of body art really demands a closer look.
But it's not like they're just copying global trends, right? The sources suggest there are some very unique Italian characteristics to this.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very Italian approach to ink. For one, Italians with tattoos tend to have only one, maybe two,
Okay.
which is a stark contrast to, say, the U.S. or Sweden, where the average is closer to 4 tattoos per person.
So it's less about collecting a full sleeve and more about a single statement.
A powerful singular statement, exactly.
And I saw the gender dynamic is also flipped.
It is, yeah. In Italy, women are actually more tattooed than men. And those tattoos often connect right back to national identity.
Like what?
We see things like the Italian horn, or, surprisingly common, the actual silhouette of the peninsula.
So if the country is so, anchored in these traditional family-focused values, how do the sources explain this huge simultaneous spike in body modification?
I think we can connect it to the idea of transgression,
A kind of rebellion.
a quiet cultural defiance. For a lot of people, choosing to get inked is a way of asserting their individual identity within a very strong collective culture.
But there's a contradiction here, because the sources also point out that workplace discrimination is still a real problem in Italy.
That tension is key. The law allows employers to impose these strict dress codes for company reputation, and that's often a hurdle for tattooed people.
So it's mainstream, but not fully accepted institutionally.
Right. And at the same time, made in Italy is seen as this mark of quality in the art world, and that includes tattooing. It's both a liability and a mark of prestige.
And speaking of prestige in tech, this newest frontier sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. These luminous, programmable OLED screens on temporary tattoo paper.
It's incredible. Pioneered by researchers from the Italian Institute of Technology and University College London. It's the perfect bridge between Italy's deep history of artistry and its push for high-tech innovation.
So from digital light on skin, let's pivot to another form of identity, the resurgence of regional dialects.
This is another one that I think surprises people.
Well, yeah, I think most outsiders, maybe even some younger Italians, would assume dialects are a fading relic, only spoken by grandparents.
The statistics say the exact opposite. ISTAT data shows over 45% of Italians still speak a dialect at home or with friends.
Wow.
But the real explosion is happening online. They're absolutely thriving on social media.
Okay, so how does an ancient dialect become a hit on, TikTok?
By becoming modern content, memes, jokes, short, funny reels that rack up over 1 million views.
So who's making these?
It's local micro-influencers, regional restaurants, especially in places like Palermo and Catania. They use these rapid-fire dialect clips to blend tradition, food, and humor. They're basically exporting local words straight into modern youth slang.
That feels like a really powerful democratizing force.
It completely changes the power dynamic. Historically, national TV only favored the big dialects, like Roman or Neapolitan.
Right.
Social media levels that playing field. Now, any regional variety can go viral if it can tell a good joke.
That desire to embrace a traditional skill, it leads us away from the digital and towards something more tactile. This crochet therapy tour.
This is a really remarkable initiative. It's led by a man named Andrea Padovan and his mother, Paola.
And they just travel around in a camper.
They do. They hold free workshop sessions.
Right.
They're called Gomitoli, Catanel, Triforian, public squares, schools, cooperatives.
So what's the philosophy there? Why crochet?
It's deeply social. It promotes sustainable fashion, which is one goal. But the primary mission is inclusion. It's about connecting generations.
Creating work and community through a manual skill.
Exactly. It gives people, especially older folks, a platform to share skills that might otherwise be lost, connecting them across age gaps through, a shared tactile creation.
Okay, we've talked identity, so let's shift to the more structural reality of modern Italian work. Like everywhere else, Italy saw this huge acceleration of remote work post-COVID. They call it smart working.
And it's a permanent shift. 60% of Italians now favor this flexible model. The benefits are obvious. Less commuting, better work-life balance.
That desire for flexibility is pretty much non-negotiable now.
Absolutely. But the very rapid rollout of smart working exposed a pretty serious gap.
In what? The tech?
No, in the physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's now threatening the long-term success of the whole model.
What kind of challenges are we talking about?
The quality of the home work environment. Workers consistently report poor ergonomics, bad equipment, everything from terrible chairs to bad lighting, and crucially, just no dedicated space to work in.
So the efficiency gains you get from the digital side are being wiped out by physical discomfort.
Exactly. And potentially long-term health issues. The company's focused on the software, not the physical support. The sources all agree that hybrid models are the only sustainable solution.
This shift in the work environment seems to parallel another shift happening within the family. I'm talking about paternity leave. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Paternity leave in Italy is now up to 10 days. And that reflects a really positive cultural move towards, shared parental responsibility.
And the uptick has been good.
Initially, fantastic. Usage jumped from just 19.2% of eligible fathers in 2013 all the way up to 64.5% in 2023.
That's a huge leap, but that still means a full 35% of eligible fathers are not taking it.
Correct. And the data shows these really deep disparities that suggest the policy hasn't fixed the underlying issues.
What's the biggest barrier then?
It seems to come down to structural stability. The regional divide is staggering. In the north, you have 76% usage. In a region like Veneto, it's 79%.
Okay, and the South?
That usage rate nearly doubles the rate in the South and Islands, which is only averaging 44%. In Campania, it's down around 39%.
So where you live dictates whether you can take that time. What else?
Job stability is critical. Fathers with permanent contracts, about 70% take the leave. If you're on a seasonal contract, that number plummets to 20%.
20%.
Yeah. And income matters too. The highest participation is among fathers earning between 28,000 and 50,000 euros. It's a clear picture. Economic security and regional norms are the real gatekeepers.
And the data is so clear on why this matters. Stronger father-child bonds, better support for women's careers.
Moving from family stability to public safety, let's look at what the sources are calling a safety paradox.
And we have to start with the genuinely good news here. Italy is, statistically, one of the safest countries in Europe. The homicide rate is just 0.52 per 100,000 people in 2024. That's a 33% drop over the last decade. Even organized crime killings are down 72%.
That success against organized crime is really notable, but it's largely because the mafias have shifted their strategy. They're abandoning public violence to focus on a more insidious threat.
Which is?
Infiltrating the legal economy. They're becoming, economic players, not street fighters.
But this overall positive trend is masking some really disturbing shifts, especially for vulnerable groups. What's the most alarming part of the data?
It's the sharp rise in homicides involving minors. In 2024, 11% of perpetrators and 7% of victims were under 18.
That's up from just 4% the year before.
A huge jump.
Yeah.
It points to a real crisis in youth vulnerability. And of course, the ongoing crisis of femicide is still a pressing issue.
Right.
The sources reported 99 women were killed between January and November of 2024. And while the national rate is down, some regions are bucking the trend. Campania actually saw a 31% increase in homicides.
And it's in that exact region, Campania, that we find one of the most incredible community interventions, Don Antonio Lafredo's project in Naples.
This project is a genuine antidote to those negative stats. Don Lafreda's initiative trains young men and women, many from extremely tough backgrounds, or, as the source calls them, scamazzati, which means trampled or mistreated.
Trains them to be expert guides.
Expert guides for major historic churches, like the Duomo. They're reopening and managing these cultural treasures.
So they're taking marginalized youth and making them custodians of priceless national culture.
It's emancipation through art. The program funds 60 internships. But the real genius is the ethos. They call it the logic of giving.
What does that mean?
Entrance and guided tours are always free. Visitors are thanked for coming, and only then are they told they can contribute if they want. A donation, a membership, or nothing at all.
And that works better than just charging for a ticket.
Much better. The word donation compels people. They feel moved by the mission, and they often give more than a ticket would have cost. It proves this model is not just socially powerful, but also economically viable.
That really speaks to the power of community investment. So let's pivot now to, well, external investment global wealth pouring into Italian property.
The luxury real estate market is absolutely booming, driven by European buyers. Tuscany is number one, with 20% of foreign interest.
Why Tuscany?
Because it blends the cultural pull of Florence with the scenic beauty of the Versilia coast. Lombardy and Lazio are next, mainly because of the stable, high-value property in Milan and Rome.
And is there one nationality that's dominating this surge?
Overwhelmingly, it's German buyers. They're the top source of interest in 8 of the top 10 regions. In Trentino Alto Adige, for example, over half of potential foreign buyers are German.
Okay, so let's flip that perspective. If the world is investing in Italy, where are Italy's wealthiest looking to buy abroad?
They're looking globally, but mostly across the Atlantic.
Hmm.
The United States is the top foreign destination for Italian searches. It attracts a full quarter of the clicks.
A quarter. Any specific cities?
New York City pulls in about 8% of those searches, with Dubai also being very popular, especially for high-end rentals. It just shows that Italian wealth is sophisticated and global, looking for stability in major hubs. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources are really painting a portrait of a nation defined by these continuous internal contradictions. You have Italy defining tradition on its own terms, through tattoo culture, through dialects, while at the same time facing these massive modern challenges in infrastructure and social policy.
And the data just reveals this fundamental deep split. Whether it's paternity leave, where the North nearly doubles the South, or public safety, where national success masks a regional crisis in Campania, Italy is a country operating at very different speeds.
Yeah, you have these incredible non-transactional solutions empowering youth in a challenged region, right alongside corporations failing to invest in the basic physical needs of their remote workers. It's a story of paradox and unequal progress.
So what does this all mean? Our deep dive really reveals that the biggest story in Italy today is the critical need for investment. Investment in young people, investment in physical infrastructure for the modern workforce, and managing the impact of huge external investment in real estate.
And that leads to a final provocative thought for you to consider. We saw the highly successful community-based model of the logic of giving in Naples, where a non-transactional system actually generates high returns. So how might that unique approach be adapted to address the stark regional disparities we saw elsewhere, like the dramatically low paternity leave usage in the South? What if the focus shifted from transactional obligation to community support?